to stay. I'm here to stay.
The January transfer window has slammed shut. 5 in, 8 out. We have our squad and 19 games left to do something with our season. And the new look squad's first test is at Exeter down in Devon. And Exeter, to be fair, have had a really good season in League One so far after winning promotion last May. And that is despite losing their manager to Rotherham in October. And the new boss, Gary Caldwell, they have kept themselves in the top half of the division and they've won 3 of the last 5 league matches. Lots to get through ahead of kick-off, so here's a taster of what's to come. As always, we'll hear from manager Dean Holden, who spoke to Terry Smith shortly after arriving at St James's Park earlier this afternoon. On the pitch, we enjoyed a productive January, winning 3 of our 4 league matches, so we'll be picking our 4 contenders for the club's Player of the Month award, presented by Castor. And we'll hear from one of our deadline day recruits, Gavin Kilkenny, who sat down with Charlton TV after joining the club on loan from AFC Bournemouth. Delighted to say we have the dream team again, Alan Curbishley and Stevie Brownie. How are you chaps? You all right?
All good, all good.
The transfer market ain't affected us, is it?
Well, I don't know, you've got that cough, haven't you? I don't know what you were like.
Again, I know.
Physically, did that affect you in any way back in the day in terms of the January transfer window? Just now?
Just getting old.
Look, we will talk about the January window in depth a little bit later on, but we are in February now. Curbs, when you were manager, was it a bit of relief that the window was, and as they keep on saying, slammed shut?
Yeah, because, to be fair, I was always in a position that I didn't want the phone to ring too much, especially in January when you can't do anything. And, you know, everybody knows about Scotty's deal, you know, left us with 8 million or whatever we had, and we couldn't spend it because everybody knew we had the money, and I couldn't do anything with it. So, and you lost one of your players. I don't like the January window, I must admit. I do understand it, but when you look at the January window, in general, it's mainly panic. Mm-hmm. You know, you're in a bit of trouble, and you're buying players where you know, in the summer it's a lot more relaxed. You're trying to build a squad, and it's a little bit more thoughtful. But when you get to January and you know, you're in the bottom 3 or around it, it does put a lot of pressure on it, and you get what's out there, not what you're after, in some respects.
Brian, I think people forget or perhaps don't even know that you were a manager, of course, as well at a non-league level. I don't think you actually had a January window to deal with, but how difficult is recruitment?
Yeah, in some respects more difficult.
Down there?
Yeah, more difficult because it has its own rules, non-league, and there aren't any windows, but you know, you can put a side together. You know, you can contract players, but it's not really that common. It has become more common over the last 5 or 6 years, but when I was in it, it wasn't that common. And the worst bit is you can build a really good squad, and it's no different than Premier League football in as much as there are big spenders down in non-league. Every league has 2 or 3 big spenders, and if they see you put together a good squad, they're struggling a little bit, they'll just offer that player £100 a week more. They're gone in the middle of the season.
A bit like Wrexham.
It's exactly like Wrexham, yeah. I guess it needs probably looking at some point, because it is getting to the point where you get 4 or 5 really big clubs who have got. I mean, Wrexham's budget would be a League One budget. It's not a non-league budget, so it's a little bit unfair. But yeah, I mean, the difference between non-league and league is you are literally on your own. So you're picking up the phone, you're driving to meet the player, you're negotiating with the player, you're begging them to come to the club, and that's all on you. You're driving around the whole of the south of England trying to pick up players. Whereas at pro level, you've got departments that deal with that for you.
Yeah. What do you make of the sort of the deadline day as a whole? You know, and how manic it's got.
Here, now,
in general. Now you're out of it. Now
in general,
yeah.
Yeah. Listen, you don't see too many deals that stagger you a little bit. But what Chelsea have got up to in the Premier League in this window was quite incredible. And reading some of the ways they've got round the financial fair play rules, etc., putting players on 8.5-year contracts, you know, and obviously paying.
You wouldn't have minded that, Brownie, would you?
Oh, yeah.
You'd have got stuck with me, though, wouldn't you? I wouldn't have left. I'd have been here the old 8.5 years.
You lasted more than 8.5 years, but only on, 8 contracts?
I was the opposite. 8 1-year deals.
Yeah. You know, it just gets out of hand. It's got out of hand. The Premier League's got out of hand. And it's about time that perhaps people better than us sat down and worked out a better way, because there's so much money in the Premier League. They're taking players from all over the world, and really the leagues underneath, they need a bit of help. And I think they need a little bit of funding.
There's work towards that now.
There's got to be. There's got to be.
But the American model, we know they go for in American sports for long-term contracts, and actually I think that Chelsea have been very clever. It's not against the rules.
No, absolutely not.
If the
but
rules have changed, then
I think some of that money that is bounded about has got to come down and filter down into the Championship and then Division 1, Division 2, and make it all a little bit stronger.
But I think that's the difference. They have franchises, no relegations, no promotions, and the owners are generally billionaires. We've only got 4 or 5 of them, and they're all in the Premier League. Below that, we're losing competition. And it just becomes about 4 or 5 clubs in every division. But I think the worst thing is that what was meant to be done in the right manner is now causing us issues where the same clubs that are coming down are just going back up because the parachute money is so great. When we went down, it was a struggle to get back up. You didn't get massive amounts of money, but somehow you managed to keep that squad together, which led to it. Now they've got, I don't know what the parachute payment is, but it's so big that the other Championship clubs can't compete. The ones coming down.
Burnley have come down. And
Norwich is the example, isn't it? Up, down, yeah.
Not doing too well today, though, Norwich.
No.
We'll keep quiet because the production team, most of them are from Norwich.
Oh dear.
Norwich, so we'll keep
Never mind. Never mind.
Any January transfer window stories?
I mean, obviously, I've not dealt in it. I haven't had to do in a January transfer window.
Well, to be fair, as I said, the Scotty Parker one was one that I could have done without. Absolutely. There was no way that we could stop him. It's such a fantastic... Morally, it was, a fantastic move for him, but it came just at the wrong time for us.
Do you think he could have got top 4 if it had stayed?
Yeah. I think it was good enough, and we had that atmosphere around the club. We didn't fear anyone, and it proved. Boxing Day, we beat Chelsea 4-2, and that's what, settled their mind that they wanted to buy Scott. But as I said, I think we brought in Jerome Thomas, for 100,000, because that was already going to be done, and it come right at the end, and we couldn't do anything with the money. But yeah, I mean, you could get into a situation where a bottom 3 club, really like a powerful bottom 3 club, could go and buy the best players out of the teams in and around them, weaken them and get themselves out.
Well, Newcastle got Chris Wood last season, didn't
absolutely.
they?
Yeah, because of the finances,
I'm with Curbs. I think people need to get around a table and have a look at it, because I don't like the windows.
You're right there, because that's exactly right.
Yeah.
He comes from Burnley get relegated.
Yeah.
Because Newcastle activated a clause. But no, if you're in a struggle and you go and buy the opposite, other clubs in there with you, go and buy their better players and weaken them. So I don't like the January transfer window in general. So well, let's see what happens.
Okay, I do.
Why? And a lot of people will.
No,
a lot of people will. Yeah.
And I say this purely not from being an ex-footballer, but just as a spectator. I think it's crazy. I just think it's entertainment.
Yeah.
Chelsea have a problem in 3 or 4 years' time because half the players they've bought won't have been in the team, and they'll want to be selling them, and that's another issue further down the line. But I just think they've been very, very clever. But anyway, we could talk for hours, couldn't we? Lots to get through before kick-off, so let's hear what Dean Holden has had to say when he arrived at the stadium at St James's Park, where he spoke to Terry Smith.
Dean, St James Park, you've made one change to the starting lineup today. Gavin Kilkenny's making his debut. What was the thought behind that?
Well, I think we're scoring goals, but I think one of the things we need to continue to improve on is making sure that we're a little bit more solid without the ball. So, at times we're in the attacking third, and all of a sudden within a few passes there in our box. So, a little bit too much of a basketball game at times. So that's something we're looking to develop, and Gav gives us that natural stability alongside Dobbo in midfield.
Other than that, the squad's looking good. You're pleased with the way the week's gone?
Yeah, we've had a good week, yeah. We've had a late shout with Cess, unfortunately, this morning. He's got a little bit of swelling on his knee, so he's unavailable today. So, that's something we just have to keep monitoring, keep managing his individual programme. So that's disappointing, but yeah, the squad that we've got here, Michael doesn't quite make it in time for the game. He'll play for the 21s on Tuesday at Bournemouth and add his minutes and move on. But yeah, we're prepared, well prepared with the game with the squad we've got.
You mentioned in the week about the playing surface. You're looking forward to coming here. I don't suppose coming here this morning has changed your mind, has it?
No, it's a lovely surface, you have to say, this time of the season. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to it. The players at the Brighton Bubbly. We've had a good trip down, and we're ready for a big away following that we've got, so let's make it a good day.
And just finally, the news that Giovanni Brown won't start for Exeter. Has that changed your thinking and changed the way you're going to play today?
It won't change the way that we play, but obviously he's a standout player for them, and we'll see once we get their team sheet. So obviously there's some rumours around that we're aware of. With them not playing, do they go with more of a 3-5-2? With 2 natural strikers. Maybe with Stansfield coming in, we'll see. We'll see when we get their team sheet. So it'll probably slightly adapt how we press them, but in terms of the way we want to play, it won't affect us.
Cheers for joining us, Shane. Good luck. Thank you.
Won't affect us, but always helps when the star striker isn't playing. But just the one change for us from last week, the debut for Gavin Kilkenny, as Dean was just talking about there in the central midfield, in for Albie Morgan. What might be a 4-3-3 with the ball, but you certainly think it'll be a 4-2-3-1 without it. The bench full of academy graduates, 8 in total in the squad. Come to that in just a second, Curbs, but just the one change, and he's giving face to the team that, we have to say, was outplayed by a very good side last week.
Yeah, I'll be honest, looking at the side, they've done ever so well the game before that, but I perhaps would have had to have gone with Miles, just to give us a bit of a presence up there, down the middle. But, I think he sounds very confident in the way they've trained and the way they've prepared. And what's intrigued me is that the people in charge, like Dean and Andy Scott, the sporting director, they've come in quite short notice and have managed to assess the squad and get the players in that they think can improve it. So, a lot of work has been put in, I think, over the last couple of weeks.
And we'll definitely come on to that a little bit later on. Lads are out training as we speak, but in terms of the team, Brownie, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at Albie coming out and he might go, right, okay, I made a fool guy again. He might have a little issue with that. But
scored last week.
Yeah, but you can understand if you're going to make signings and you feel like they're fit enough and they're going to add something different to the team. You're going down to a decent outfit, actually. They play good football. I actually thought the home game against Exeter could have been a little turning point for us because we were 2-1 up and we went into that second half and I thought, they're going to equalise here because we'd drawn a lot of games. And we went on to win 4-2, as we all know. And I thought that was a little turning point because they were on top of us in that second half extra and we held out. So we know we're going to come under a little bit of pressure today. So maybe that's coming to the factoring of Dean's thought process is that Kilkenny offers something a bit more defensive-minded than Albie will. But it'll be very, very disappointing, and quite rightly so. But yeah, I think that side's set up in as much as he knows we're going to be under pressure for some. At certain points of the game.
Cuz makes a good point though. Miles could have been brought back in, so difficult in terms of Macca last week, what he had to deal with. But I wouldn't say it's a big game for him, but he wouldn't want sort of back-to-back games where he hasn't really got involved, would he?
No, and I think we can all appreciate he was up there against a very strong back three. And he sort of toured away without having much success. But today gives him another opportunity to prove his worth. I'm with Curbs actually. I'm surprised Miles wasn't brought back in because the reasoning last week was we're just going to manage his minutes and give him a little rest. Well, he's had that, so get him back in the side, and it hasn't materialised. There is another factor, I guess, in if you don't give Bond the minutes now, when does he get his minutes? And that's my one issue with a lot of our signings. They're just lacking minutes across the board. Hector's going to need some time in the 21s to get up to speed. Bond's the same. So, I think Kilkenny's been playing ball accounts, but 21's football. So a lot of our players need to play first team football really to get themselves up to speed.
Yeah, we'll see. And I agree with you in terms of I would have liked to have seen Miles been playing. I think he'd be chomping at the bit. It just seems to be quite regularly now that new players seem to either need to be managed for their fitness in terms of injuries, or fitness in terms of they've not played enough games. But that's Dean's decision. He's obviously had a look at Macca all week, hasn't he? Okay, well look, let's take a look at the league table now, shall we? And we'll start off with the bottom half. There were only 8 games last weekend in League One. That was owing to the FA Cup 4th round taking place. It meant we stay 15th despite losing to Bolton. Morecambe lifting themselves out the relegation zone by thrashing Bristol Rovers 5-1. They've now won the last 3 home matches, scoring 12 in the process. Also at the bottom, Burton, who signed 3 Charlton players in the January window, moved up 1 place to 22nd by beating Oxford on Saturday. Craig McGivery kept a clean sheet in that game. They are now in the drop zone only on goal difference. Go on.
I was going to say, I don't think it makes any difference, but we're only plus goal difference in the bottom half.
Yeah. Perhaps it tells us
all the minuses and we were a +3.
Yeah, we win big and perhaps lose by the odd goal. Top half, Bolton were the only club in the top 6 to play, and they unfortunately picked up 3 points here, of course, last week. Peterborough rose to 7th by beating Portsmouth. Shrewsbury in 9th made it 4 league wins on the bounce by scoring twice in stoppage time to beat Forest Green. While today's opponents, Exeter, lifted themselves back into the top 10 by overcoming MK Dons at Stadium MK. And look, chaps, we're 12 points off the playoffs, having played a game more, 9 teams to jump over. So I'm not in any way suggesting, you're looking at me, Brownie, that top 6 is possible. But win today will be just a point off Exeter. It's small steps now, Curbs, isn't it?
Yeah, but if we get the result today, you know, that's 3 out of 4, isn't it? Or 4 out of 5. You know, so a bit of momentum. Although obviously the Bolton game, we did play against a decent side, so perhaps take that one on the chin. But if we get the result today, then you know that's a decent run that Dean's having.
Yeah, no, for me, you're not going to like this, but my thought processes are all about already thinking about the summer and next season. You know, I can't see us getting anywhere near the playoff spots. What I don't like is how short term everything is. You know, that doesn't sit well. You want things to be a little bit more long term, but I guess without having all the information at the end of your fingertips, you know, perhaps the guys that are trying to get in a position to make it a bit more long term don't know yet. So therefore it has to be short term. That's the only assumption I can make, but I think everything's geared towards the summer and us looking long term beyond that. But for me, it's about, you know, these guys that have been bought in on the short-term deals, do you want to be here next year? You know, how much do you want to be here if the takeover goes ahead and Dean's in charge? Well, yeah, some are on longer-term contracts.
It opens itself up, and again, we'll talk more about the January window for us a little bit later on, but it opens itself up to almost a blank canvas, doesn't it, in the summer?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to write off the next 4 months because you want to see your team win as much as possible and compete, because that's an important part of the process when you're building a culture at a football club. But I don't sit here ever looking at 6th spot. I sit here looking at the squad and how it's developing, and I really wish we knew a little bit more behind the scenes in terms of who's in charge and where we're going.
I think everyone want that.
Yeah,
no one can talk about top 6 right now where we are. Okay, back to a full league programme in League One, which means that all 24 sides playing 12 games in total. Bolton, who beat us last week, played Cheltenham. 3rd place Ipswich go to Cambridge. 4th place Derby host Morecambe. Fleetwood, who we face next week, play Burton. That could pit Jayden Stockley against Craig McGilvery. Be some corners chucked in there, wouldn't there? And a bit of talk between those two, I'm sure.
We'll be here next week.
Yeah. Barnsley in 6th faced a tough-looking trip to resurgent Portsmouth at Fratton Park, but really there's only one game to look at there, isn't it? At the bottom of the graphic, but very much at the top of League One, Sheffield Wednesday host Plymouth at Hillsborough. That will be some game and some atmosphere, that, Curbs, won't it?
Absolutely, and you know, when you look at them two sides, and you remember what we did to Plymouth here, you know, you look at that and it can be done, can't it? You know, you look at this league and you feel if you get it going, it can be done. You can get yourself up there.
We were terrific at Sheffield as well. I know we lost the game, but we were outstanding for 60 minutes at Sheffield. So there have been some highlights this year in terms of where you look at the team, you go, well, it can produce. We just haven't done it consistently. But that is the standout game. I mean, we've all been at Sheffield when it's had 40,000 there, and it is an unbelievable atmosphere. So I'd imagine that,
in that sense,
and that Cop End, is it called the Cop End?
Yeah.
It is called the Cop End, isn't it? You know, that makes some noise. You know, when it gets going. Well, you imagine that's going to be almost a sellout, right? It's got to be.
Well, Plymouth.
You'd think so.
You've got
Plymouth bought 3,000 here.
Yeah.
4,000 here.
They'll have some trip from Plymouth to Sheffield, but they'll make it, won't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's take a quick break from today, shall we, and get to club news updates, and we'll start with ticketing news. Tickets for our February and March home fixtures against Fleetwood, February the 11th, Sheffield Wednesday, February the 25th, Accrington, March the 11th, and Wickham, March the 25th. All Saturdays are on sale. Remember, seats for all men's first-team league games have been reduced in price following discussions with the club's fan advisors. And you can get your tickets for all of our next 4 home games by visiting booking.cafc.co.uk. Charlton's under-21s contested a 6-goal thriller with Millwall at Dartford's Princess Park on Monday afternoon. Young striker Daniel Kanu claimed the Addicts' 2nd and 3rd goals. You watch, Curbs. Brown is about to interrupt me here.
No, I'm not. I mean, we've done it off. Oh, Jesus.
in rehearsals, yes.
Look at the four
Brownie looked at
recovering.
that.
Look at the four. He could have easily blocked that if he'd have actually got. Oh, anyway, come on.
We're looking at
Next step
we're
first
looking at
team.
our boy, not
Next
not
step
them.
first team for that lot.
He's a coach for anyone, whether it's Charlton or Millwall.
I'll watch the centre forward round my keeper and slot it in when I could have got back on the line. But don't worry, carry on.
We shall move swiftly on. Dr. Michael Serraj.
He's angry today.
He's always angry.
Yeah, I'm wary, is what I am, from my 5 right hooks I got last week sitting here.
Please, because this is important, this one here. Dr. Michael Serraj and Freda IEC have both been recognised in the 2022 Football Blacklist. It's an initiative shining a light on the most influential black people in British football. Dr. Serraj, the club's head of equality, diversity and inclusion, has won the LGBTQ+ award for his work challenging homophobia in society through football, while Addicks midfielder IEC was named in the commercial category for content creation skills. Into this, the pair joined the likes of Premier League stars Bukayo Saka, Raheem Sterling and Marcus Rashford on the 2022 list. A massive congratulations to you both. Curbs, this one's for you. Over 400 men are booked to have a PSA blood test here at the Valley ahead of our next home game against Fleetwood Saturday, February the 11th. Do you know what? I haven't told you. I've booked you in.
Have you?
Yeah.
Well, we done it last time.
Yeah, and you and I are going to do it again. Brownie doesn't need to.
Don't need to, no.
What,
you know
what's
why.
it? Norwegian?
No, Viking Warriors
Viking
DNA. Yeah.
So he's got everything else wrong with him except that.
He can't finish a game of golf because of his knee, but his
teeth are
PSA
falling out.
Teeth are falling out, knees are shot.
You don't want to see that on here, I'll tell you what, it was teeth out. The fixture is also the club's annual Men's Health Awareness Day, and as part of the match day, supporters in both clubs can get a PSA blood test right here. A £10 donation is required for men to book the test, but the full cost is actually £25. So the club's brilliant head of player care, Tracy Leeburn, is fundraising to cover the additional cost. We know why, or we know how. Tracy has got creative with her fundraising events, and on Thursday, she and manager Dean Holden decided to eat
It's disgusting.
No.
a pig's anus, as well as a host of other I'm a Celebrity style dishes. You'd have been up for that back in the day,
Absolutely
Curbs?
no.
All of the reaction.
Did they do it?
We'll have all of the reaction to that
Chewed
meal
on a pig's bum.
on Charlton TV next weekend, and you can donate to a brilliant cause by visiting cfc.co.uk.
I know Hancock done it for a lot of money, but like,
Yeah, that was over 300 grand. Wasn't it?
oh dear.
Okay, like the under-21s on Monday, the Charlton women's team were also involved in a 6-goal thriller in their last game. However, they ran out 5-1 winners against AFC Wimbledon in the FA Cup 4th round on Sunday. How about that for a goal? Angela Addison and Beth Rowe notched the pick of the goals for the Addicks at the War Memorial Sports Ground, with Rowe's strike being her first goal of the season. What about this for a nice little finish?
Yeah, lovely little move that. Some good give and goes. Good support positions as well. Nice little finish.
Excellent. Well, since sealing their progress, the Addicks have been drawn at home to fellow Barclays Championship club Birmingham in round 5. That tie is set to take place at the Oakwood in Crayford on Sunday, February the 26th. Before that, Karen Hills' side, who have now won 7 games in a row, are back in action at the Oakwood tomorrow when they host Coventry United. Tickets are priced at just £8 for adults and £4 concessions, and would encourage all fans to get down there and support them if you possibly can. Okay, right, back to our men's team now, and we're going to talk about the candidates for the Player of the Month presented by Castor. 4 players we've got now. First of all, I've got to say, a lot easier than December, isn't it? A lot more positive anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
First one of our picks, Brownie, Scott Fraser.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, in terms of where he was in December to where he got to in January, you know, we pushed him a bit higher up the pitch and his performance accelerated away. You know, he was getting 7 and 8s. I thought he contributed with a couple of really important goals. I thought he was excellent down at Portsmouth, and that goal early in the second half where he drove past, you know, 2 players and drove it into the bottom corner was the difference on the day. We went on to get the win comfortably. Same at Lincoln. You know, a vital goal in that. And I think just pushing him up higher at the pitch, we've seen more enthusiasm for him. We've seen him get on the ball more. He's created more, and he's pitched in with those 2 goals, which were vitally important. So absolutely deserves to be in with a shout.
I think he prefers to be in a three-man midfield, doesn't he?
100%,
Most
yeah.
definitely.
And higher up the
prefers it a
pitch.
little bit further forward, out without a doubt. Curbs, next up, Jez Raksaki, who, like Scott, got a goal and assist in January, and it's good that we've... I don't know what the rules were, whether he had him for the whole season anyway, but...
I think it was reviewed. I mean, Brighty was here.
Glad to keep him.
Yeah, Brighty and Dean Kiley was here last week, weren't they, watching him and keep an eye on him. And this is the... Unless a championship club came in, and even that, if it was a championship club and perhaps up north, you know, the environment he's in here is perfect for him, and he can make mistakes, which he has done. I mean, he should have scored here, shouldn't he, the other week? But he's learning every week, and it's a great education for him. And I think that, you know, he's won the respect of the other players and the crowd. I'd just like to see if we can get him in that attacking third a lot more on the ball. And the other thing, what we're saying, is when the ball's coming in from the other side, he actually gets in that 6-yard box to look as if he can nick another goal. But he's been exciting ever since he's been here. And I think that not many fullbacks enjoy playing against him because he can go both ways.
I like him. I think he's a big talent. I'm really glad he's here to the end of the season. And it's good speaking to Brighty last week after the game, actually. And he
How bad was his gear?
Oh,
my God.
worse than yours?
Oh, so much worse than mine. If he'd have said, "Do you want to swap?" I'd have gone, "No." No, you're all right, Brighty. It was awful.
I didn't notice it.
You know, he big issued me
I
off,
saw
didn't
Dean
he?
had a tie on, didn't he? Dean had a tie on, didn't he?
Yeah, and Brighty looked like he was selling down the corner, didn't he? Oh, it was awful.
Okay.
And he had big
Don't
wedges
say too
on.
much about him, it might take it
Well,
back.
that's all right. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's too late now,
It's
isn't
too
it?
late. Too
I
late.
think so, anyway.
late.
Brownie, Ashley.
Yeah, I think with Ashley, we've all sat here. We made him man of the match the other week, and it might have raised a few eyebrows. But if you think about the contribution he had, it was a difficult man of the match actually against Bolton because nobody really stood out. But his contribution in the first half kept that scoreline at 1-0, which kept us in the game. I know we went on to lose the game, but that's kind of been the basis of and platform of his performance since he's got in. It's very difficult when you come in and you haven't had a run in a first team, and he gets thrown into a difficult situation. And sometimes the first 2 or 3 games, it's all done on adrenaline, isn't it? But he's gone beyond that, and now the performances are consistent. And
Here's a question for you. Jojo gets fit again.
Yeah. Well, I think Jojo has to be patient until the manager feels like Ashley's hit a patch of form that needs to be brought out of the team. Because
So he's the number one for you right now?
He's got the shirt. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't label him 1 or 2, but I would say Ashley's got the shirt and he's done nothing. Bear in mind, we're talking about him for Player of the Month here, right? He's done nothing that's led you to believe that he needs to come out of the team.
The interesting thing, we mentioned it last week, Rasaki can make a mistake by missing a goal.
Yeah.
He makes a mistake by coming out and the ball goes over his head.
Yeah.
And it's highlighted. But no, he kept us in the game last week.
100%. But there's lots of little things. You know, he's had his first one in a team. He's confident. He commands his box. He's made some great reaction saves. You know, he's another player that absolutely deserves to be in with a shout.
I think he's got a big future ahead of him, just like our last one as well. And when you talk about youngsters coming through, Miles is the obvious one, but I don't think Lucas is that far behind.
No, and he's come through, change of manager, change of atmosphere around the training ground. Dean's looking at certain aspects and you know, things in players that he likes, and he's obviously seen. We keep calling him Elliot, right? And if it was in our day,
Got to watch the film Untouchables.
If it was in our day and age, everyone would understand it. But Lucas has come in, and he's coming at a difficult time. Old Trafford and 1 or 2 other games, and for me, he looks composed. So much so that we've let 2 centre halves go, O'Connell and Lavelle, because he's come through. And a bit like Razaki, he's going to make mistakes, but on the Bolton game especially, he made some blocks that only Brownie noticed. You know, them sort of things.
Brownie type blocks, weren't they?
Brownie type blocks that were, you know, before he come into the side, might have gone in. You know, so he's done fantastically well. Decent partnership with Innes, and great because we need the youngsters to come through.
Yeah.
The only problem is, as a manager always finds, you've got to try and win games as well. It's all right putting the youngsters in and trying to bring them through, and the crowd love it when a homegrown player comes through, but you've got to win some matches as well.
Yeah, and to be fair, Dean's only got a contract to the end of the season, but
so it's brave.
If we are at the stage where you're sort of planning for next season and he should be the manager for next season, then maybe this is the time to do that. But anyway, we've only got 15 minutes till kick-off, so we better move on.
Anyway,
we got time to talk.
He's my player of the month.
Okay, all right.
So
What?
That's all right.
You're heavily influencing the listener there.
He can give his opinion. He can give his opinion.
I thought that's why.
No, we're not actually giving it. It's down to the
I thought
fans.
that's why
to
you
vote
asked
in.
me.
Well, I'm just asking who were very good, but now we've got your opinion on it. Let's move on and talk about the window then, shall we? Because it was an interesting month. There's 5 in, 8 out. But before we talk about it, let's hear a little snippet of what Technical Director Andy Scott had to say about it.
I think when you look back at the conversations myself and Dean had as we came into January and midway through January, it was really important for him to have assessed the squad properly. By that time, he was very clear that the squad was too big. He couldn't train the way that he wanted to, and match day preparations, there was 5 or 6 players not even involved in that, which doesn't create a great culture, and Dean's very, very strong on that. So part of the remit was to trim the squad. The next part was to bring in better quality than we were leaving. And the third part was to ensure that we had better balance about the squad and that we could have more options for Dean. So I think in general that we've ticked those boxes. I think we would have liked one more in maybe, but that was neither here nor there. We couldn't really do much about that. We did everything we could, but generally very, very happy with it.
And you can watch Andy's interview in full on the website, cafc.co.uk. A few things to pick the bones out there, Curbs and Brownie. First of all, he said Dean wants a tighter squad, which Dean has said himself as well. And when you've got players who are not even getting on the bench, how difficult can that be?
Well, we were saying, why is he not on the bench? Why is he not even on the bench? Is he injured? But no, he can't get him on the bench. And, so I've looked at the sides that Dean's put out, and they're quite athletic. I think you've got to be able to run. You've got to be able to, close people down. And, unfortunately, some of the people that have left the club couldn't do that. If you look at James Stockley, if you want to start pressing high up, pressing, and, the new words that have come out instead of perhaps closing someone down. But he couldn't. Jaden couldn't do it. Jaden couldn't do it. But I think Macaulay Bond can, Miles can, Wasaki can, Corey Blackett can.
Yeah.
In the middle of the park. So he's brought in players that I think are very athletic, and he's let some of the ones that perhaps aren't leave the club, and he's also trimmed the squad, which he's saying if you've got so many players and a lot of them are over there, that's not good. When you're trying to get your philosophy across, it's no good having the other half over there. You need them all together. And so he's trimmed the squad, which is what he's needed to do.
It's about just having a good team spirit, basically, on and off the pitch, isn't it? But 8 players left the club over the month. Dean has had, 6 league games in charge so far. Those departed in January only made 4 starts between them in all those games. That's a combined 4 starts in a possible 48. And only one of those this calendar year, that was Craig, who played against Lincoln. 8 seems a lot on the surface, but does it justify that? It's about, you don't want the term deadwood, but it's people who are not playing and are probably not going to play.
I'll flip it to, don't think about it as a football squad and think about it as business, because there's a lot of money there not contributing on a weekly basis, and I think that may have played a part in it. I agree with Curbs. If you look at the players that have gone out, if you think back to what was sold in the summer, which was a certain style of play, those players couldn't actually adapt and give us that style of play. If that's the way Dean wants to play moving forward, then you have to make adjustments, and I think that's what you're seeing. I also think there's a business decision here. I'm looking at the names on that list, and I'd imagine, and I'm making an assumption, that's quite a healthy sum of money that you've pushed.
Trimming off the wage bill.
Absolutely.
So what about the ins then coming in as well?
Yeah. I mean, I have a slight issue with the ins in as much as I've already addressed this, that they've not been playing. That's a slight issue. And they're all on short-term deals. So when we talk about trimming the squad financially, we are looking at a period in the summer where 4 permanents have gone. All the players that we've signed theoretically can be gone as well. And then you've got the 4 loan deals that will come back, and then you've got a decision to make on them moving forward. But I agree with you, in some respects, you're almost looking at, if a decision's made in the next 4-8 weeks, whenever it may be, about the new ownership, or if there is a new ownership, etc., you have kind of got a blank canvas.
But a lot of the money spent, though, has gone out of the club, hasn't it? A lot of the big transfer fees.
Yeah.
Kirk, Jaisimi,
Stockley.
Lavelle's
if you
another
look.
we paid money for.
Lavelle.
DJs.
Yeah, money.
DJs, Jaisimi. People that we've spent big money on, really, in terms of the budget. And they've not been playing, well, apart from Stockley, a lot of them have not been playing. So it's nice to get them out, but as Brown is saying, it's only for a couple of months. But it's give Dean the opportunity to work with players that all feel they've got a chance now. The squad's been trimmed.
Yeah.
We've got homegrown talent on the bench, which is nice. And everyone thinks they've got a chance of playing.
So briefly then, do you think we've had a good window, and what do you think about the balance of the squad going forward now this season?
I'm jury's out for me because, interestingly, Andy said we feel like we brought better players in. I think that's very subjective. Until we see them play, yes, we might have brought them in from a higher level down, but they've not been playing. So until
Michael Hector, on the face of it, has got a great CV.
Yeah, absolutely.
Promotion to the Premier League, but he hasn't played.
The problem is,
Gavin Kilkenny is playing today.
The problem is if he has to come in next week.
Yeah.
Because Lavelle and O'Connell are gone. We've got, I may be wrong here, but we've got Innocent and Ness. If we get a problem there, suddenly he could be fascinated. But he has been training with Charlton for the last week or so.
Yeah,
they have assessed
I think
his
he was at Dagenham training on a regular basis.
And let me tell you,
his fitness
if
levels.
they can get him back to anywhere near where he was,
what I
he
mean.
is a fantastic signing.
So it is extremely subjective because he could be a brilliant signing, but he might not. He might be a bit like, with all due respect, I'm not criticising Terrell here, but he's barely been involved. So that could have been another brilliant signing, but he's barely been involved. So I think it's all very subjective.
Again, we could talk for hours.
I just think that what Dean has probably said to Andy is, look, we need to trim this squad. We need to, so I've got a squad I can coach and train with every day, and that's what's happened.
And we got it.
Thank God you didn't start with that subject. We would have been 20. We could literally go on all day.
Let's hear from one of our deadline day editions, shall we? Gavin Kilkenny, who spoke to Charlton TV earlier this week.
Gav, welcome to Charlton. How does it feel to be a Charlton player?
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, I'm buzzing to be here. As soon as I heard of the interest, I was very keen to get the deal done. So, yeah, like I said, I'm delighted to finally be here.
It's obviously deadline day, a bit of a busy time for everyone concerned. When did you first hear about our interest?
Yeah, the gaffer texted me last week, and it all happened quite quickly. So obviously I was with Stoke. I sat on the bench. I was on the bench there the other day, and then as soon as that happened, I heard the deal had more or less been sorted. So I had to get down straight on the road from Stoke. So that was a tough day. Had to pack up the place and then just straight down. So, but that's just obviously the nature of deadline day, and it gets this close to the end of the window, so I'm just happy to get it done.
Dean, our manager, was obviously at Stoke at the start of the season, so you do know him, as you say. How important was he in this move?
Yeah, he was obviously very important. He was probably the main reason, obviously. Yeah, as soon as he texted me, you could see straight away by the things he was saying to me, the ambition that he has. And obviously speaking to the lads and that, since I've been in, they speak quite highly of Dean. And obviously, like I said, I've worked with him at Stoke, and I really liked what I've seen. He's obviously a very positive character. And tactically he knows his stuff, so yeah, as soon as he texted me I was kind of all in on it, you know what I mean, so yeah, I'm delighted to get here.
And how would you assess your first half of the season? Is it fair to say you maybe had limited opportunities? Yeah,
it's obviously not gone to plan. Obviously there's a couple of injuries in there towards the kind of the start and that, and then like you said, obviously the first manager got sacked and stuff like that, which was a pity for me, but yeah, it's been tough the last couple of months. I haven't got any playing time, definitely nowhere near what I would have wanted, but I'm just keen to get on the pitch now and show everyone what I can do.
And prior to the start of this season, you played an important role in helping Bournemouth get promoted. How good an experience was that for you?
Yeah, that was amazing. Probably the best experience in my career so far, so it was a brilliant season, and yeah, I enjoyed it so much, so yeah, I just want to try build on that now and hopefully show what I did last year and show what I can do.
What do you think you learned from that season in particular?
Well, it was probably my first real season, my first breakthrough season, and to get used to games, Tuesday, Saturday like it is in League One, and like it's going to be this going forward. So yeah, it was great exposure to that, and obviously playing with top players at Bournemouth, so I hope that will stand me in good stead coming here.
You said to us off camera that you've been at Bournemouth for quite a long time now. I mean, if you look back at the Gav Kilkenny who joined Bournemouth to the one now, how much do you think you've changed and learned and developed?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, when I came over, I was only just a young boy from Dublin. I was 16, so I've obviously grown and developed a lot. Yeah, so I'm completely, obviously different now. I think I've evolved as a player and obviously learned how to compete and how to, obviously men's football now, so it's a different ball game. So it's, I want to just knuckle down now and get games and show everyone what I can do.
And for Charlton fans who haven't seen you before, what can we expect from you?
I'd say I'm a ball playing midfielder, but I like to get stuck in and I'd bring a bit of energy in the middle of the pitch, and I want to get forward, but I like to try to do every part of the game from the midfield, defend and attack, so I don't want to be labelled as one or the other. I want to do a bit of both. And that's it really. You
may not be aware that in years gone by we've had a lot of players impress in the red of Charlton but also the green of Ireland. I know you've been capped at youth level by Ireland. How important is your international career to you?
Yeah, it's obviously probably the pinnacle of any international player, but especially I think if you come from Ireland, we're a very patriotic country, so that's obviously probably the end goal, I suppose you could say, is to play senior international football for Ireland. So hopefully coming here, get the games and obviously push Charlton up the table, which is the main goal, and then if that can help me get in the senior team, then that'd be brilliant.
And someone like Josh Cullen, he really impressed here, and I know you may not know him personally, but looking at someone like him as a young Irish midfielder, how much sort of inspiration do you take from someone like him?
Yeah, loads, I knew he was here, I've heard about that, so obviously you take a lot of inspiration from that and see how his career's gone since he's been here and the rise he's had, and obviously now he's playing with Burnley, top of the league in the Championship, probably playing in the Premier League next year, so it's definitely something to aspire to, and obviously he plays a similar position and he's playing for this Ireland team like you said, so definitely someone that I'd look to emulate.
And you're with us until the end of the season. What are you hoping to achieve in the next sort of 5 or 6 months?
Like I said, 100% push Charlton up the table. I think they're definitely, even just seeing the training ground and stuff, I haven't seen the stadium, but it's definitely not a League One club, you know what I mean? It should be at least in the Championship, so we want to push up the table and at least get towards the playoffs and put in a real challenge for that. So we'll see what happens, obviously, and then personally just want to get back on the pitch.
Very best of luck.
Thanks very much.
So he's from Bournemouth, where he joined at 16. He came from St Kevin's Boys in Ireland, which is the same club as Robbie Keane and Damien Duff. Some big names there, but we also mentioned it's also mentioned Mark Kinsella. No pressure there then, trying to follow him.
No, if he's half as good as Kins, he'll be all right. And he looks combative midfield player, doesn't he? Without seeing him play, but he looks like and he likes to put his foot in, so good.
Yeah, we've seen some of the young lads talking, haven't we? And they're quite quiet, they're quite reserved, but you get the feeling there's a bit of steel to him here. And where do you see him fitting in midfield?
Well, I think he's just said I'm a ball playing midfielder and I like to get stuck in. So you think you've already said it. Out of possession, alongside Dobson, in possession, can he get up alongside Fraser? But I think for him, it's important he plays. He's been sat in a 21 side. It didn't quite work out for him at Stoke, and he needs to start playing for someone's first team. So hopefully we're giving him that platform.
And Dean knows him, of course, doesn't he? Which is always important. Curbs to a manager
very
if you
good,
know someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that he's an hungry player. I like that. And he wants to do well. Not just
hangry.
Angry and hungry. But and I think that coming to us, what I liked about that interview, he's appreciated the move. Yeah. And he wants to do well, so great.
Let's have a quick look at the teams again, shall we? Just the one change for us, and that is Gavin coming in for Albi. In terms of Exeter, how big is this Giovanni Brown not playing the top scorer for you, Brownie?
Oh, it's massive.
Didn't want to make a big thing of it.
Yeah, well, he won't.
It is big, isn't it?
He won't, but we can. And, listen, they've scored 3 goals in the last 3 games. They've all been him. He's their top scorer. Don't get me wrong, Nombe's decent as well up top. But taking him out is a huge miss. Portsmouth put in a late bid. It didn't go through, and he's obviously got the ump about it. And I can see both perspectives. You can always see from a player's perspective, a move to Portsmouth from Exeter is a very good move, despite where the clubs are sat. That's a very good move, I would imagine, financially for the player. But for the club, it wasn't the right time to do business. So you can see both perspectives. There's obviously been a little argument, a little fallout, and he misses today. It's great for us.
There's a couple of clubs that have had that problem, haven't they? Yeah. Brighton, well done, Brighton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Charlton had that back in the day, but Scotty Parker went, didn't they?
I thought you was going to talk about your 50 quidder again.
What was that?
He offered you 50 quid rise and you left.
that was the end of the season.
That was gritty.
That was gritty. I gave him a look. We haven't got time for that right now. Back in 1994. Okay, look. I mean, the pitch looks absolutely incredible there, doesn't it? And it's a nice little stadium there. No excuses.
Those were the days we went down there just for a pre-season friendly.
Do you remember? Now we need hours to talk about that. Let's get over to our afternoon's commentators, Terry Smith and Greg Stubley. Greg, good to see you. Okay, mate.
Thank you, Scott. Cheers, Brownie. Thank you, Curbs. And yes, alongside me, glad to have him back, the legend that is Greg Stubley. All fit and raring to go, aren't you, fella?
Yeah, I seem to have the same GP as Curbs after Christmas for some reason. I just couldn't stop coughing during the week, so delighted to be back here.